Chapter 7. The next day, Lucas said school and went away. Mom did too, leaning on her stick. I did no barks, but nobody was there to give me treats. Sighing, I went into the kitchen and nosed open a door to a small room where my food was kept in a bag on a shelf, up out of reach. I kept hoping one day I would open the door and the bag would be lying on the floor. But so far, that hadn't happened. When Mom walked in the door, I was excited to see her, but something unusual was going on. Mom paced in the living room, pausing to peer out the window. She also picked up her phone and stared at it. A phone is something people will look at and talk to like it is a dog. I guess Mom and Lucas had gotten into the habit of doing this before I got there. They must have been crazy with loneliness without a dog. "He'll be here in a few minutes, Bella," Mom said to me. I wagged at her excitement. When Lucas walked in the door, Mom and I both tried to get to him first. I put my legs up on him while Mom reached around me for a hug. "Lucas, I got a job!" Lucas stared at her. I decided his arrival called for a ball and raced to get one. "I thought you said you didn't feel ready for that yet," Lucas was saying when I returned. I dropped the ball at his feet and gazed at it suggestively, waiting for him to get it and throw it. We really needed a slide in the living room, I decided. "It's perfect because I will be working in Dr. Gann's department at the VA," Mom said enthusiastically, "so I'll actually have more support than what I can get here at home. It's just part-time. And you know what this means, don't you?" "I just don't want you pushing yourself too hard," Lucas replied. "Lucas, the extra income means we'll have the money to break our lease and move. We can be in a new place in 2 months," Mom said happily. "You would do that for me?" Lucas whispered. I abandoned the ball because I felt a rush of emotion in Lucas, like heat on his skin. No sadness, but something. "Not for you, for us, for our family," Mom beamed. That night, we took a long walk. For some time, it seemed like Lucas liked the darkness. We only headed outside before the sun brightened the sky in the morning or after it had vanished in the evening. I didn't mind. There were just as many interesting smells in the darkness as in the light. "It's going to be okay, Bella," Lucas told me. "I thought we were going to have to do this for 10 more months, but now it will be less than 2. You're safe." Whatever he was saying, I could tell he was happy. I was too. I noticed a change, though. Now, when Lucas said school and left, Mom would tell me work, and she would leave as well. I could manage life alone, but it seemed to be happening every day. Whatever work was, it seemed to make Mom happy. "Thank you, Bella," she whispered to me once. "Thank you for forcing me to quit making excuses. I thought it would be too hard for me, but I love having a purpose in the world beyond just healing myself. You gave me that. I love you." I wagged at Mom's hugs, but then she left, and I was alone once more. This new set of circumstances left me bored. My legs ached to run. I wandered the apartment. Usually I curled up and slept on my Lucas blanket until my boy got home again, but I didn't feel like doing that right now. Too many days had passed where all I could do was nap and wait. After a while of pacing, I stood by a window. The glass part of the window had been moved up, and only the screen was left between me and all the good smells coming in from outside. Trash, leaves, people walking past, the burned, bitter smell that cars left when they drove by. Squirrel! Squirrel! My ears perked up, my body tensed. There it was. I could see it. It as well as smell it. A small, furry body was scampering across the grass not 10 feet away from me. It was time to play Chase the Squirrel. Before I even had time to think about it, I coiled my back legs and surged forward in a powerful leap. My head crashed into the screen, but the screen could not hold me back. It gave way with a sound like cloth tearing, only louder, and I was through the window, all 4 feet landing on the lawn. The screen was still clinging to my neck like a strange, prickly collar, but it wasn't slowing me down. I lunged toward the squirrel, and it streaked across the lawn, heading for a tree. This time it wouldn't get away. I'd catch it for sure. I got so close to the squirrel I could almost taste its tail. But in the end, it whisked up a tree as they always do, leaving me to stand on my hind legs with my front feet up on the trunk and bark and bark and bark. But when I tired of trying to coax the squirrel out of the tree, I left and started sniffing the bushes. Some male dogs had been there before me. "Oh, no," said a new voice. I turned my head, and there was Hat Man. He still had the hat on, and he smelled the same, of sweat and smoke and the scent of lots and lots of dogs. He was standing a very short distance from me. "What are you doing out here?" He knelt, and I went to him, wagging my tail. He reached out and pulled off the screen. I was glad to get rid of that collar. I licked his hand, and he sighed. "Now what am I supposed to do?" he whispered to me. I looked over his shoulder and wagged because the woman who smelled like cats was coming toward us rapidly. "I told you," she called as she approached. "I see them walking that animal all the time. Why haven't you come when I called?" "I did come, ma'am. I'm here, aren't I?" Hat Man reached into his pocket and took something out. "A treat!" I gobbled it up, glad to know this new friend. Somehow, while I was eating the treat, Hat Man slipped a strange new collar over my head, and suddenly I was on the worst leash imaginable, stiff and hard like a branch from a tree. I twisted against it. "No," Hat Man said curtly. I stared up at him astonished. No? Why was he saying no? Anyone would want to get off this leash. "That dog needs to be destroyed before it bites somebody else," the woman declared hotly. "Oh? Who did she bite?" Hat Man asked. I sat thinking if I was good, the bad leash would be removed from my neck. "It's a lucky thing no child was injured," the woman replied. I decided I didn't like anything about her except how she smelled. "You do know you're more likely to be bitten by a chihuahua than this dog?" Hat Man asked. "You should be glad I called you," the woman replied. "Yes, thank you," Hat Man said. He dragged me over to the street. I did not like it. This was not like going for a walk. It was something else. It was scary. I whined and pulled and tried to look around for Lucas. Where was he? A small truck was parked by the curb. It smelled of gas and metal and smoke, the way all cars do. But it also smelled of dogs. Unhappy dogs. A loud, shrill yapping was coming from inside it. Hat Man opened a door on the back of the truck and then grabbed me with one arm, holding the stiff leash with the other. He lifted me up. I didn't like having my feet in the air. I barked sharply. The man dropped me inside the truck and pushed me into a crate. Then he pulled the new collar off over my head. I shook my head. The door to the crate slammed shut. Next to my crate was another small dog inside. Once I was nearby, the little dog stopped yapping and cowered away. Hat Man closed the door to the truck. It was dark inside. I thought it was probably supposed to do no barks, but I couldn't manage it. Lucas. I wanted to go home and get a treat and have Lucas and Mom tell me all about what a good dog I was. I wanted a tiny piece of cheese. The truck growled and started to move. Where was I going? Why wasn't Lucas with me?